Thank you so much, Dash, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to LOL Park here for the first 3 games of the day. I'm Atlas, this is Wolf, that's Chronicler, and we are right into the draft here. And, gentlemen, I was going to bring something up before this, if there was going to be, something to talk about before we got straight into the draft, but it was this cat right here.
No cat.
No cats allowed.
And also no LeBlanc.
Okay.
No LeBlanc allowed here. That's not going to go through here for Humanoid. Also, the Twisted Fate is removed as well. So Gen.G, a little bit of adaptation here. I think the meta is sort of settled in here in Group D. And they figured out they've actually banned now all 3 of the champions that Humanoid has played thus far in this tournament.
He's technically banned out. Of course, everyone knows he can play multiple other champions, but you're exactly right. We're going to have to see something new from Humanoid. His 4th game here, and will be his 4th unique champion as well, which is kind of cool. Lee Sin going to remain that very high priority, especially here for our Korean teams. They do very much like the Lee Sin.
And I want to talk a little bit about Bertel. Dask already mentioned it shortly. And Bertel and Rascal, in terms of what they bring to the lane, I think Rascal is generally a lot stronger, was known for his laning phase, although he was a bit binary at times, did always provide a lot of stability and found a lot of solo kills. Bertel did die a lot in the game, but it also means that Gen.G is actually able to keep up with the pace a lot more, and they don't fall victim to the petrifying curse that Gen.G are very adept at casting on themselves, as we do see the misfortune locked in. It has been one of the main prio picks, probably going to be answered by something like the Jhin. We've also seen the Aphelios rise in prio, and I like this Viego considering how bloody Gen.G have been playing this far.
Yeah, not to mention the fact that Viego was such high priority yesterday as well.
Yeah, and it's going to give you a lot of dueling power early on in some of these early objectives, especially against Clid's Lee Sin, so a lot to think about there. We don't know what pick Humanoid is going towards just yet. We know that BDD has played a lot of Azir. He loves to play the Azir pick, so that's something that could actually end up being the matchup here for Humanoid, as we will see the Aphelios go through. Would love to see some Kog'Maw, but not to be the case. Not in this meta, I don't think.
Yeah, and I think it might just be Ruler in Life on the Aphelios Thresh. Lock down your bottom lane and grab a jungler. It is some very standard Gen.G drafting.
However...
Ooh, could be the Graves. Might be Bertel putting on his best Rascal impression, and it will be locked in.
And I really do like that, especially with how in-your-face Bertel has been playing already. The Graves has a lot of innate safety, and you can both play towards it, if that is how the game ends up being, or you can just leave it on its own. It's hard to gank. And especially if you ban out things like the cannon, it will be pretty hard to find something that really matches up well into the Graves. And that gives Gen.G a little bit more flexibility, as we do see the Leona has been an incredibly high champion throughout the entirety of the tournament. We've already talked a lot about why it's so strong. I think that specifically with the Viego, that 2v2 threat, or those roaming around the map can be very dangerous.
I think there's also some danger from Gen.G picking the Graves here instead of the Thresh, because now we see it instantly banned away, and we know that it's good into Leona, which has been very high priority, with the Flay being able to knock her away and stop her from stunning you, and things like this. And yes, the Graves is good, but is it good enough?
That's the question. I like this Wukong ban quite a bit. That's a really strong power pick for Armut. It's one of his best, historically speaking. That's one of the picks that could really challenge Graves and even look for kill pressure there on the top lane. But I think if you ban Lulu here as well, it's a really strong option just to make sure that you remove a lot of that survivability here for the Aphelios. Going to take away the Braum, similar idea. Lulu is still definitely an option here, depending on what the round out is going to be in the mid lane. One of the big differences between Bertel and Rascal is that Bertel doesn't often actually look for Clid to help him out, look for ganks on the top lane. He's a little bit more self-sufficient on the top side, whereas usually Clid and Rascal played together. So that is something to look out for here. They will ban the cannon away now, which is going to remove a lot of initiation here and team fighting on the side of Mad Lions. There's the Azir pick I was talking about, this time going over to Mad.
Yeah, that's going to be picked away. Humanoid going to take the bird into the mid lane. I like it a lot. Of course, BDD probably would have grabbed it, right? If it was available, 100%. He's a huge fan of the Pigeon in the mid lane. But he's also a huge fan of purple orbs as well. His Syndra is legendary. Hasn't necessarily been playing it all that much this year. She's only recently sort of come back towards the top of the meta and will be locked away. Bit of a self-counter pick here for life, but of course getting out of lane on the Rakan, absolutely fantastic, and I don't mind the draft from Gen.G as it finalizes.
It was interesting. I was looking at the Lulu that Wolf already pointed out, which is something that LCK teams have been using a lot, not necessarily to provide the peel, but to make sure that you have a lot of prio in that bot lane. We've seen Aphelios' Gomushi and Carrier come to mind, be able to win basically every lane just through the sheer pushing power that it has. And I was looking at maybe a Gragas. I think a Gragas also is nice into what we've seen thus far here from Mad, but instead, with the Rakan, a little bit more ability, and with Birdle especially, Gen.G is also looking to use that. Do really like this Gwen. We have seen Gwen slowly rise up in priority, and think back to that PSG game, where even though it didn't matter in the end, you still saw some of the glimpses of like why this champion is such high prio. Also means that you actually have AP damage, no double AD, topside into a Graves, where once he finishes shield bow and steel cap, she just never kill him.
Yeah, it's very difficult. He ends up being a very tanky champion later on, very survivable. My only concern for this Rakan is going to be how difficult it is against a Viego there and a Gwen now to actually find those flank angles. He's going to have to stay with his team a lot more. Not a very tanky support there on the bottom side of the map, but some of those objective fights get a lot tougher with this champion than some of the other alternatives. The Lula would have given you more speed, given the Aphelios more survivability. Rakan isn't really going to give you that opportunity.
Yeah, and I'm sort of looking at this draft from Gen.G, and if the nameplates were off, or even better, if this was Damwon Kiyase playing this composition, the lanes look extraordinarily dominant. They do have that late game win condition in the Aphelios and things like that, and with proactivity, this is a steamroller of a composition. With Gen.G though, I don't know whether it's necessarily going to be the same thing. We'll have to see whether week 2 is going to be a bit better here for this team as we hop onto the Rift for the first game of the day.
And I'm going to be looking towards the mid lane. BDD has had an exceptional tournament thus far, except that one play where Humanoid chained him and then mind controlled BDD into shuffling into the turret, which I thought was really well done. And
that was pretty cool, yeah.
Yeah, I think Humanoid has had an exemplary year, and I say jokingly, but he has actually performed, I think, the most consistent out of everyone on the Mad Lions. He's looked incredibly strong. And if you lose prio against the Syndra early on, it provides a lot of room for Clid. And Clid has, at least in the LCK, you know, been known to be a little bit hit or miss, but on a comfort pick like the Lee, combined with the setup that Syndra and possibly Rakan, if he's freed up in the lane, provides, can snowball the game very quickly.
I mean, when you think about the mid laners that come from the LCK and Worlds, a lot of people are calling them the Elite Four. You've got FLICKR, you've got Showmaker, Chovy, and now BDD here in Group D. And BDD has often, this year in the LCK, been one of the more passive laners, but I mean, I'm going to have to hold this thought because Clid is going to be on a ward here. But BDD went for multiple solo kills on Icon, if you remember back to the beginning of the group stage. Was able to pick him off twice with the Zoe there in that Sylas matchup. Looked for the same style against Humanoid. Failed, of course, in that solo kill fail that you mentioned just moments ago, Chronicler. So in this matchup with the Syndra versus the Azir, I think we'll see a lot more passive play out of him because he's the type of player that goes really strong on late game engage when he's playing the Syndra. He's not the type of player who's going to be winning out mid game fights, teleporting top side to try to assist Birdle. That's not his style with this. It's all about those late game scare leads.
Yeah, we'll see whether today is going to be BDD's day, because we know that, you know, during regular seasons and things like this, BDD has been oftentimes considered the best mid laner in Korea. Not necessarily this year, maybe not the year prior, but we know that he has been capable of it, and against all of the same players that you just listed as well. And we could hear from you. What are your opinions on both Humanoid and BDD? Use that hashtag Verizon 5G all chat and let us know whatever you like, whatever comes to mind. It will be on the broadcast.
That's cool. I really appreciate that.
Not you.
Well, I'm not going to. I'm casting this game.
Get on. I mean,
to
in general, we've got potentially a bit of an engage here as Ruler goes down to 50%. Counter engage comes through from Life. Grand entrance onto Kaiser, but Leona, certainly something that our friend Wolf really likes to talk about. She's not very good at taking damage, is she?
No, not generally so. But yeah, you guys got to hear from Chronicler no matter what on 5G.
You kind of have to, yeah.
You don't really have a choice, so just get used to it.
Do like the tracking that we see here, Mad Lions with the topside pixel ward, not actually spotting out that much now with the ward on bot. Know that there is a small window here. Elyoya giving up his wolves and is going to go for the invade here. Does also have the roam up, so are aware of this.
Clid is just going to bypass the area. Should just be able to give this one up. And no, actually,
they don't know where BDD is. They don't know exactly how nearby he is. They're just not going to risk it. Really appreciate that back off there from Mad.
Ooh, bit of a stun come through there from Ruler, who does have the correct guns for getting a bit of poke damage onto Carzzy.
He'll still get the scuttle.
And like that, Mad making great use of the prio. As pointed out already, if this was a Lulu, it would be a little bit easier for Gen.G to actually apply pressure in that lane. But Instead, it's been Carzzy and Kaiser, especially with that comment MF, that have been able to get the shove in. Elyoya recognizes the window, but they also appropriately respect, and I think that's important. Giving over early kills to a BDD is a great way of making your game very hard, but now Birdle doing the same for Clid.
Yeah, and there's just no reason for Elyoya to actually contest this with obviously Humanoid backing. However, they do back away because Armut was catching the wave or pushing the wave in, so they had to back off. So this actually ends up being double scuttle. I think they definitely could have fought for this, but Humanoid pushes this lane in, and Gen.G are just going to give it up for free.
Yeah, respecting the teleport perhaps, as Humanoid was coming back fresh off a bye. So, and also the fact that Birdle did have to make his way back up towards the top side. But I agree with you, Wolf. I felt like Clid could have possibly gone in there and tried to threaten a little bit more, but possible to know exactly what's going on in their minds. As Ruler and Life pushing forward. Carzzy taking a lot of damage. Gravitum's still there. Good knock up onto Kaiser, but once again, he is Leona. Not very good at taking damage. As we mentioned before, Carzzy to half health, but Clid now looking for a potential dive. Vision available for the Mad Lions. Let's see whether this one's going to work out. Now they get full information. Can they actually get out of here? The Q is going to find the goalposts, and they get the flash out of the misfortune.
Still well worth it. You grab that flash, and if the Q hits, you might be able to get a little bit more there. He has Gravitum available, so you just have to respect it.
Oh, Humanoid going to get stunned up here just a little. BDD getting a bit of pressure down. No level 6, so no gameplay button yet online.
And while the play from Mad was successful in denying Clid early, we've seen that Gen.G have used that bot side prio that they were able to find through consistent out-trading from Ruler and Life to turn that into a situation where they force Carzzy's flash, meaning that he will be a lot more vulnerable. It's forced off the turret, meaning that he gives up a fat amount of CS. And it also meant that Clid had the opportunity to invade, so now not as far behind, able to pick up the Gromp, equalizing that jungle CS just a little bit. Kaiser now roaming very deep, maybe setting up a trap here. And Gen.G might not be aware that this is happening.
Yeah. Clid moving towards the area. Not a lot going on in his jungle right now. Could get a wolf camp potentially as Life. He's here in the mid lane, spotted on a ward as well. Speedy has that wave pushed in. It looks like Mad Lions haven't found what they wanted. Clid is going to find this ward now, and backs will be cancelled. The control ward will be taken down first, as now Clid will have his wolves reset. More backs are going to be channeled. This is definitely some behind enemy lines.
Yeah, he should have a good idea this is happening though, because Birdle can identify that Kaiser's not top, and he's been missing for a very long time in bottom, so he's just too smart. He's not going to walk up into that.
Yeah, now Humanoid potentially ganked by BDD theoretically, as Clid's going to walk up the lane. Humanoid moving towards the rest of his team. Kaiser and Elyoya will move their way towards this next Rift Scuttler. But Birdle's moving down the river as well. There's the Emperor's Divide. It delivers BDD into the pit, but the Q's going to connect from Clid. Safeguard's going to be there as well. The Blast Cone makes it a party as the Gwen puts down the field, but I don't know whether it's quite going to be enough for them to win the fight as in goes Clid one more time. And Armut down to half health, but he's still going to have to run away. Gen.G find the skirmish.
The ultimate. I mean, Mad Lions spent so much time and so many resources and lost so much experience to set up for this play, and it doesn't end up working out. Really nice reaction here from Gen.G, but the play from BDD, the flash back over the wall, into the scatter, the kick connects there from Clid, jumps to the enemy, and I mean, that was a skirmish you don't want to take as Mad Lions if they're aware it's going to happen. And Gen.G were very much, even though they didn't physically see it, aware that something was going on, the rotation was there.
And it was a big investment, and yes, we also saw that there was a little roam come out, but as we look at this again.
That scatter.
The scatter was so good. Humanoid going a little bit over aggressive and only hitting BDD, but BDD doesn't get comboed fully. And it's really Armut that, again, shows us the power of this Gwen in these type of skirmishes where you can reliably keep rocking your passive, sustain up, and hit multiple people with needlework. But if that hadn't happened, the problem was that with how far behind Carzzy already was, he can't really ever walk up in that lane with Ruler. And with Kaiser being gone for so long, we now see that that CS lead has even become a little bit bigger, right? Like that the consistent push has been found there by Gen.G. And now slowly growing that gold.
Yeah, and this is something that we haven't necessarily seen from Ruler so far this World. He's been a little bit quiet. We know that this guy is pretty good at World Championships in general. He has won one of them, and is just in general very, very good and reliable in a lot of the games that Gen.G have had, but not so much this time around. In fact, BDD does close to 40% of the team's damage.
It's insane.
So far over the 3 games they've played. Now, potentially looking for something. BDD's going to find a stun onto Humanoid, but he gets out of it. Does have Emperor's Divide and finds it onto the Syndra, but it's a 1-for-1 for now. Carzzy not exactly finding too much value from the ultimate, but already a lot of the damage has been done, and life will have to fall as well. And it looks like the prize for the Mad Lions will be this Rift Herald.
Well, the Aphelios is still pushing bottom, though, and Mad Lions reacting a little bit slow here. It's a trade, so they don't actually get the start of this Rift Herald very quickly. And you already have an Aphelios who's got a massive CS lead. Now he's getting plates down the bottom side. Don't know if he has Crescendum up or not, but still, this is a huge issue for Mad.
At the same time, I do got to criticize Gen.G because you should have read that play, right? Like, Ruler is alone in the bot side. With Carzzy roaming up, there is no need for you to hard commit as much as you did. And even though the trade is favorable, I don't think life has to die there. Giving up a Syndra member would have been fine, but you could have gotten a lot more out of this because now the gold lead has stayed virtually the same. And no one has been able to actually pick up the Rift Herald yet, but is Ruler getting fed? And that generally has worked out pretty well for Gen.G.
Yeah. I'm starting to feel like you take it personally when our LCK teams fight around the Rift Herald.
Yes.
Because you have been talking about it a lot.
Yes.
And look, it's been happening a little more than it probably should. And let's check it out one more time.
Yeah, I mean, this is a fight that, you know, you don't have the greatest scour of the week here. You only hit Humanoid. And this is where Rakan can be so powerful in these early skirmishes, which is part of why Gen.G do kind of all in on this fight. Because, you know, Leona can hit a single target, stun them up, but the power of Rakan is in this choke point, get a multiple knockup scenario there, but it's still just not enough to actually end up getting the kills there. The Scour of the Week could have been saved a little bit longer there as well. They tried to go for the initial pick, didn't work out. But yeah, again, the biggest problem is that Ruler is just picking up so much gold. He is alone the biggest problem that Mad Lions have to face later on.
Bertle, you're alone. Your team is there. He's just playing, you know, he's just drawing some tension, but it actually works out. And I want to kind of, we talked about him a little bit already, but it's really important to understand this is a 17-year-old kid that played, I think it was 2 games, 1 game throughout the regular split within the LCK. So was barely called upon.
Yeah, I think he's played so far 6 professional games
in total.
League of Legends.
There you go. So that would be 2 series that he has played. That's not a lot. And this is Worlds. He's going up against the best team in Europe. And we did see in the Liquid game in particular how easy it was to target him. And the Graves thus far working out a lot better than the Camille. As now, Matt, they do need to find a way to stem this bleeding because you can't just keep Ruler like getting away with this. Like, you might get Herald off of this, sure, but if you already lose the first turret bot, that's not a worthwhile trade.
Oh, definitely not, especially because Carzzy is now being zoned away from experience and gold here. You're going to get a Drake with this too. And the fact that Clid just hovers around there, they clear the ward, and there's just no answer to this, unfortunately, for Mad. And what can you do? Your jungler's on the other side of the map, and he's even going to have to invest his ultimate here to get those minions. At least he does pick some of those up because he's already now 30 CS behind. Now they're down to Drake. I mean, the massive lead that Gale Force Aphelios has this early in the game that he got for free is so unfortunate for Mad Lions because they had a composition that could get tempo advantages early on with this Viego, with this Gwen, but they've kind of missed the window.
They do have Humanoid now pushing in this mid lane. We'll be able to tidy up these minions. Possibly could move towards this river, but not a lot to fight for down there. The Rift Herald has already been taken. We'll see where Elyoya decides to put it down. Might try and get some money into Carzzy, but maybe we'll just give up on that and hope that Armut or Humanoid potentially carry this one out, because the Misfortune certainly not having a great time so far. Although, you know, down 20 CS or something like that when you've been on an island, it's not the worst thing in the world, especially against Ruler.
It's also the lethality build, so Carzzy will be more than happy if he can just capitalize on Kaiser or Humanoid setting up plays for him, right? And we saw earlier already in that skirmish, if Humanoid hits 2 free people and they're just in the air for a little bit as Carzzy throws down the bullet time, that in of itself is already going to provide you with a lot of reliable damage. And Mad also, they're behind 1.5k. In of itself, that is not a lead that's insurmountable, especially with the amount of scaling you have available, because while there is, of course, a Aphelios on the team, I do think that specifically that Azir can provide issues where in the late game, if you don't position very cleanly, you can easily either get swept away into the enemy team or get taken down just through poke, as Bertle teleporting on this turret here.
Not exactly the greatest move. Yeah, Elyoya is going to be biding his time, though, as the teleport from Humanoid comes through as well, and this is the 3-man dive. Yeah, you're not going anywhere, Birdle, unfortunately. Can he find one back? And the answer is no. Armut's just going to move out of the turret range. And this is going to be even more now with the Rift Herald potentially going down. Yeah, I mean, the timing of this is so thin as well. Like, if you don't actually have that Riftmaker as Armut, you don't do quite enough damage. The, shield bow is going to be so awesome for Birdle in a moment like this to survive as well. Like, that was really razor thin, the timing where they pulled that off. But it is massive. They finally get the gold back. Yeah. And thankfully, Jared, right on time, saying the Mad Lions with the 3-0 today, question mark. Well, looking a whole lot better after that play towards the top side. Oh yes, let's go EU. We want to see EU in the finals, Copium, and we actually just want to see EU in the knockout stage in general, right? And it's going to have to be Mad Lions that gets them there. I think I've already been pretty forthright with this, but I've got Mad at the top of my list for Group D. So I don't want to be against my region, but I do really like getting my pick'ems. Yeah, right. Predicting correctly is good. I think
how's that going for you, Atlas?
Not so great, not gonna lie.
Yeah, we don't care about them as much these last few days after everything else that's happened, I'd say. But yeah, I think I had them first as well.
This is the last chance, Wolf. Let's get at least one right. Oh dear.
After everything's happened thus far, I don't think it's happening. I don't know what's going to happen in this group today.
I still think that, like, we heard from Azael that there's a 6% chance that
yes. 4-way tie, right?
That there's the 4-way tie 3-3, and all I heard was it can happen.
Yeah.
So either it happens or it doesn't. So that to me sounds like a 50% chance.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, 6% is not 0. So
yeah.
Rolling with the facts here.
Not going to comment on this as the teleport comes through.
Thank you very much, Armut, for bringing us back towards this game. Ruler and Life now in a tricky situation. 4 members of the Mad Lions moving around, but Armut maybe a little bit further forward. Does put down the mist. The flash comes out from Clid. There's the solar flare immediately going to get cleansed, and Gen.G now feeling like they may have bore the brunt of most of the aggression, as that Scout of the Week was fantastic. Humanoid not going to find the Emperor's Divide. BDD outplaying it beautifully.
This is what BDD is known for. He's not the Chovy CS god, right? He's not the one who's going to have those impressive 1v1 plays you see Showmaker and FLICKR do oftentimes career-wise. He's a player who's going to hit the clutch engage or disengage in really important team fights or skirmishes like this one. And hitting that Scout of the Week is one of the biggest and most iconic BDD-esque plays we've seen from him so far this tournament. If you can shut down and engage like this, by the way, mind you, look at the safe teleport he takes. He's just back. You can see it on the minimap right here. Buys his Ludens, so he has that item when he does arrive in this fight, but he hides that he's here, waits for a long time. The timing is so perfect when he shows up.
Do you mind that even with this play not really working out, I think if that was a Wukong, this would have ended very differently and very badly for Gen.G.
Yes.
I do really like the deep teleport here. But do you mind that even with Humanoid dying there are now 4 flashes down on Gen.G, and in a subsequent fight that can provide opportunity for Mad Lions. But they do actually need to capitalize on that, because in terms of overall gold, it is Gen.G that is now starting to pull slightly ahead, and we've seen LCK teams do this throughout this week, where the small leads become bigger and bigger, and every play that you try to go for as an opponent needs to be cleaner and cleaner, especially when stopwatches come into play. That can be a lot harder than might initially seem to be the case.
Yeah, and talking about gold, the 001 Aphelios that Ruler is piloting right now has a 200 gold bounty.
Yes.
From just fine. Now Armut might be in a little bit of trouble. Clid not going to find the Q, nor did he really want it by the looks of things. Anyway, but the Ghost is claimed.
Yeah, this is going to be a free Drake opportunity here with the group up. They had top pushed out, so yes, Carzzy is going to push top, but there's no easily available turret for him to grab. Plates have already fallen down, so he's just catching the wave that was already sent there by Ruler, so you don't really get a nice cross-mop play here. It's second Herald here for Mad Lions as well, so yes, this is important, this is valuable, but this Infernal Soul now, and you're now 2 Drakes closer to what is going to be the most powerful objective in the game, pre-Elder.
I do really like the pickup from the side turret there. The main question is, can Mad kind of defend their own with how it's looking right now? Not too sure, because otherwise it's still a favorable trade for Gen.G. And it does look like Armut is going to attempt to save it.
Yeah, that is dangerous. Gwen not so immune when you're inside the circle with her, as it turns out. So Gen.G are going to be able to take the turret and the Gwen and try and find their way out. Elyoya going to go for the stun, but doesn't find it there onto Clid. Gen.G will successfully get out of their lives.
This is, you know, again, these types of trades are fine if you have some late game power, you know, that you're relying on later on. But in this particular case, with an Aphelios that's already fed, yes, not in terms of kills, but in terms of the farm he's gotten and turret plates on the map, you've got the strong late game coming up. Graves is going to be incredibly powered. You've got two great consistent engages in the Lee Sin and Syndra, but you also have the Rakan flanks to consider as well as just Moonlight Vigil. Like, Gen.G have all the tools, right? And as Mad Lions trading even and grabbing a turret like this feels so insignificant because you don't have that same scaling to fall back on. Yes, you have an Azir here, but it's not an extremely fed one. He has 2 items at this point, but you've got to start winning team fights coming up here. This third Drake fight, I think, is where Mad Lions will have to make a big stand.
I wonder whether we're going to see a break point, because I think at some point the Gwen in his side lane will actually be able to beat out the Graves, just in terms of raw dueling power, where Gen.G is actually starts to be the one that wants to engage, right? And then look at the comp that Mad Lions have. In terms of kiteback, it is actually hard to try and make work, but that does rely on Mad piloting it very carefully as they go in on Clid here.
Yep, Clid can just blast burn his way out though, thanks to, of course, the Infernal Rift. Also still able to take the Wolf. Wolf's fine, he's right here.
I'm okay, don't worry.
It's okay. Rule are going to find all of the minions underneath this turret, continue to rapidly progress as far as that CS number is concerned. Not even 20 minutes yet, very close to 210, so definitely not too bad at all. Does need to start participating, I feel. Does have himself a couple of items already built up. Speaking of items, Birdle does have the double lifesteal for the Negan build to come in for the Graves. Absolutely love it. I remember, I mean, LS was talking about this build to me, like, even backstage when he was casting the LCK, so often. Like, what was it, like 2 years ago?
Yep.
A year ago? Thankfully, now actually a thing, and is being picked.
It's going to be nice to grab that Banshee's Veil, by the way, off of Humanoid here. Birdle on a control ward.
Ooh, Humanoid looking for an ult potentially, but Clid does have a W button. That's going to help him out.
We'll keep him safe. Again, the same board that Mad Lions put down earlier, right? So if someone shoves up in the side lane and gets a little bit too overexcited, tries to catch a wave where they shouldn't, doesn't have the backup, there is a similar collapse opportunity for Mad Lions. Also mind that that play that we saw in the inner turret on Gen.G's top side, all the summoners are now back available. So that window that was there for Mad Lions, they haven't actually been able to utilize. And I think this next Drake is going to give us a very clear idea of who is going to take, or keep control rather, of this game. Because if Gen.G get a soul point with 3 opportunities to pick themselves up in Infernal Soul, it's a really rough place for Mad to be.
It's also an issue of if Mad Lions can't win this fight, right? Where right now they currently have a lot of prio. They haven't really warded around the pit, but they have so much control over the bottom side of this jungle that they don't necessarily need to. They can reset and look for that. But if they can't win this fight, the lead starts to become so insurmountable. It's not even just about the fact that they have soul point. They can then, of course, just straight up win the game with that 4th Drake. But the fact that Mad Lions' composition is very difficult to fight with from behind, especially if you don't have any soul, split pushing power coming through with that Gwen, for example. So it's going to be a really big turning point, because I could see another world where Mad Lions wins the fight convincingly, gets a lot of that missing gold, then Armut starting to get control of the side lanes, and this game could turn on a dime if that happens, but it needs to so badly.
Yeah, I think the decision that Carzzy made, though, to go for the lethality really does help Mad when it comes to being able to execute this composition, even if they are even with Gen.G, because just the raw damage that comes through to be able to get that first reset for Elyoya and really start these fights working is going to be very impactful, not to mention all the consistent damage that Humanoid has to sort of complement that particular build choice. Is now Armut dashing forward. Mad Lions still not committing to anything just yet as Kaiser goes in. There it is. Solar Flare doesn't exactly find the targets he's looking for. Moonlight Vigil does exactly the same thing. Gen.G going to back away. It's a face-off.
As soon as the Sky of the Weak misses, they go in, but they're not able to find a target. Mad Lions are now stuck on the outside of these choke points, so getting into here is going to be so difficult.
Yeah, Birdle trying to clear out this control ward. Humanoid stunned up for now. That's once again Scout of the Week on cooldown for the next little while. Gen.G just trying to play around that. Still with no ultimate from Ruler, but they have everything else outside of the collateral damage. Mad Lions get the dragon down to half health, but Birdle makes his way into the pit. Clid can be here at a moment's notice, and Humanoid, he's just too low. He's not going to be able to fight for this one as life. Now trying to dash away from Armut, who's down to half health as well. And the Mad Lions, just weren't able to find the fight that they were looking for.
And there you also see the power of the sustain. See how fearless Birdle is. He can take the poke because he knows 2 autos, and he's back to full health again. And then on the back of that, with him drawing attention and drawing poke, it was a single Calirum shot, right, from Ruler. It's BDD hitting a scatter, and the health bars on Matt started to slowly go lower and lower. Without these Leona ultimate, the opportunity for a good engage wasn't really there, and Matt slowly got bullied out of River, and now they're down 3 soul points. It's going to be incredibly hard for them to make every single play of the on those work.
Yeah, no, it wasn't a slaughter in the team fight, so Gen.G don't end up with a a ton of extra gold that comes with this. But the same situation is what Mad Lions face, is that they have to somehow team fight this Gen.G composition without the extra gold that they need so desperately right now. And in that last fight, too, consider that Mad Lions could have looked to deep ward around the Drake and actually group instead of backing. And the fact that they gave prio to Gen.G was why that fight was so difficult to pull off in the first place. They looked for opportunities on every Scour of the Week cooldown, but could never get close enough because even though they have good engage, the positioning was just too good for Gen.G. And this is what's so concerning right now around Drake and Baron later on. Control is that if you don't have vision and you don't have positional advantages as Mad Lions comp, you don't have the same advantages. You're not forcing Gen.G to walk into you, right, with this Aphelios comp. When you have so many engage tools, so much blow-up options, you can control choke points with bullet time. If you can control the space around Baron, you can force Gen.G into awkward fights. But if Gen.G are there first, like, how do you win those? It's just so difficult.
I feel like you have to go for something. Right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I was a little bit worried about with Mad sort of just moving through the river, watching a dragon go over to Gen.G.
That's something.
Hey, and this is definitely something. Maybe they got the message themselves.
They
are going to be trying to grab this Baron using the old Azir over the wall trick.
Don't know.
Of course, Armut does have a lot of lifesteal, and yeah, I have a feeling this is just going straight to the Mad Lions.
Clid's
They
coming.
planned this the entire time, gentlemen. Don't even need to worry about facing off against Gen.G. You just do it while they're not there.
And I love that also they showed Elyoya on vision. So Gen.G, they wouldn't immediately get suspicious because the jungler isn't there. Why would you go for that? Really, really nice play from Mad.
Carzzy.
And that's going to buy them so much more time.
Carzzy did the same, right? He was shown, so Gen.G just were a little bit confused about what was going on here. And if you do react slowly as Gen.G, you have to fight to that choke.
Oh, the Scatter of the Week's fantastic, though. The knock-up with the Grand Entrance, also beautiful. Moonlight Vigil this time will connect as Gen.G still taking a fair bit of damage back. Not quite dead is Elyoya as well, as Gen.G still looking for more. Sundisk goes down. Humanoid is going to get them to back away as Gen.G, they eliminate at least one of these Barons as Armut. Now might be another one of these targets. Dashes over the wall, should be all right.
He'll be all right. This is playoffs BDD that we're watching right now, and anyone who's watched the LCK knows that when BDD is hitting the clutch stuns, that's when you know you're going to have a really hard time fighting over objectives. And yes, the Baron buff still remains, but you have a lot less control over the map right now, and it's Carzzy, the one who's picked, right? This is so unfortunate. He needs that gold so desperately right now to keep up, and this is very quickly becoming an issue of Mad Lions just not having the range.
Life is going to face check Elyoya. Not going to find the knock-up here either as the flash forward from Kaiser. Not able to get the stun with the Shield of Daybreak, though, is now Birdle. Going to try and get the rest of his team out. The needlework is going to help grab that kill on the Rakan. The face check is going to be punished eventually.
Yeah, straight up disrespect from Gen.G there, trying to get and secure that buff. And I was just about to say, Matt, the main value of the Baron power play was taking it away from Gen.G. Unfortunately, for Gen.G, fortunately for Matt, Gen.G then don't respect, get over enthusiastic after their play, allowing Matt to actually pick up a Drake, in addition to, of course, the gold that you get from Baron. But the state of the game, I don't think, has substantially changed. We're still looking at the fight that's about to happen in 45 seconds.
Yeah.
Is there an opportunity for Gen.G to take some control of the jungle? Because if they need to face check into Mad, if they don't have any control, it's going to be really hard. But Mad, they're going to abandon the jungle. Everyone on Gen.G is backing. And it looks like this soul fight is going to let us know how this game is going to continue.
This is the really key part, right? We saw this last time where they backed right before the fight. But they buy a key item here. The Rabadon's Death Cap is actually now finished for Humanoid. This is the Axe replay where we see the Scatter of the Week over the wall here. Perfect. Look at the damage on this already. Life's there for the follow-up. We end up grabbing the kill there instantly. But this fight is going to be so huge. And once again, they back, but they get a key item. And Gen also back at this time. So they have prio this time. This is the best fight you're going to get as Mad Lions. You've got to win this one.
Yeah, well, Clid looking for a bit of a flank here, but Armut right in position. to spot him out. Life as well, down too low to actually go for any sort of engage, as BDD's not going to quite find the scatter. Can we get in there and steal it away? No, is the answer for Gen.G. And that is going to be the denial. Bertle also just getting over the wall. Not sure what the plan was there necessarily, but he is going to donate himself over as another reward for the Mad Lions.
Look at what happens when you have Prio on the Drake with this composition too. Gen.G looked totally lost. Clid trying to look for that really long flank, isn't able to duel against Armut in the 1v1 very well, and suddenly Gen.G scrambling, trying to figure out how they're going to take this Drake away. Might have been better, to be honest, especially with that death cap finishing for Humanoid. Just look for some side lanes. You've got that triple Drake advantage. You don't have to force this fight.
And now 2 objectives in a row go to Matt, and that Baron sneak turned out to be pivotal. It really kind of swung the favor of the game, and Gen.G, they found that Syndra play. That was nice, but it didn't get them that much outside of the kill specifically. And Life, he's standing on vision there. He's not aware that this is happening, and it's Humanoid that, I'd want to say, pulls a BDD, kills it, finds a kill on Azir before the fight has even started, and then Bertle disjointed with the rest of his team. I think still could have also flashed over the wall, maybe want to keep that summoner. And in of itself, not enough yet, but this is a pivotal must-win fight for Matt. They do secure the Drake, deny that Infernal Soul, and buy themselves more time. And now I'm looking at Humanoid. He, as you pointed out, will finish the death cap, building towards another item, looking to be the Zhonya's. Gwen in the side lane is going to become a bigger problem as well. And Gen.G now have lost their gold lead.
Yeah. It's a really dangerous time right now for Gen.G. And the Mad Lions, I love their composition. The further you get into the game, the ability to 4-1 so beautifully with the Gwen. And you mentioned how dangerous it is if the Gwen is strong enough to take down the Graves. Well, I have a feeling that's pretty close to have happened as the Morellonomicon is completed.
That's the thing, right? That's the item that you want so badly against this Graves right now, and it's huge. And we've also seen that Gen.G is a team that likes to play around their game plan, and when suddenly a wrench is in the gears, you start to see overextensions, you start to see mistakes, you start to see Bertle way too up in a lane.
Yeah, and another big teleport to come forward from Armut, but can Bertle actually win out on this one is the question. The quick draw going to come through, the shield bow working out for now, but it's not going to be enough, and that Morellonomicon really paying for itself right there.
Yeah, this is the scary part for Gen.G. When the plan falls apart, that's when the cracks really start to show. The macro starts to fall apart. You can start to feel the nerves come through, and Gen.G makes small errors like this that really end up costing them big. And it's happened to them in so many critical clutch series for them, not only in the LCK, but internationally as well. And this is a moment where Mad Lions finally have control over the map. They can side lane, they can team fight, and Gen.G's playing a little scared.
Well, yeah, BDD and Clid possibly out of position. Life going to try and at least group up. So they have a 3-man unit. 3 versus 4 though. As you can see, Ruler rotating up as well. Bertle does have the teleport available under 10 seconds before he is up and alive yet again. They have vision on this Baron. This time it's not going to be the sneak. So Gen.G might be able to find a team fight that they're looking for. Here it is. Teleports come on forward. There's the Moonlight Vigil. There's a little bit of an overextension there from Kaiser maybe. As Clid's going to get a kick into the backline. Carzzy in so much trouble. Bertle dives forward and finds the kill. But Humanoid is immediately going to get rid of him. BDD looks for more as Ruler flashes away from the Emperor's Divide. Armut still trying to fight this one out with Elyoya, who does have some resets. But it is a win for Gen.G as far as the amount of players they still have alive, but their health bars are not necessarily there.
They stopped the Baron, though. That's the key thing.
And now the question is, which team can get better set up around this Drake? It is still the same format. They won the last fight around Infernal, but they're gonna need to win 3 more if they want to make sure that this objective doesn't actually go over. And while it was Gen.G that was able to get a favorable trade in terms of kills, in terms of health bars, they were much lower.
I mean, look at how this is set up here. They turn instantly on Kaiser when he goes in, and the kick is so perfect here from Clid. And look at the follow-up ultimate here from Bertle. Carzzy is just straight up out of the fight. They flash forward to secure the kill there. Even if he doesn't die, even if you don't flash forward there, the fight is essentially over in this moment. And yes, Armut trying to hit these needles here and turn this around, but they've got too many stopwatches. They're going to start this again. This is crazy.
Yeah, already down to 50% health. Clid in the area, so of course they know, but the amount of bullying to get him out of here, Clid, he has to work out what he wants to do, and the answer is absolutely nothing. They give the Baron away, but the Leona does fall. Now Life looking for it with the quickness available. And Mad just want to back away. 4 versus 5 for now.
But now Mad need to make sure that they actually take down Gen.G, otherwise Gen.G is going to get the Infernal Soul, and I don't know if Baron for an Infernal is actually going to be worth it. Gen.G, they're running towards it. Armut, though, is coming back towards, and 3 people of Mad pushing on the top side.
The timing of this is so good for Gen.G because the Drake comes up perfectly at this moment. They can split off 2 while defending the base.
That's going to be it.
They might lose an inhibitor for this, but this is absolutely worth it. And the thing is, I don't even think they're going to lose one. Mad Lions, too indecisive here. They get neither the full push top, while they are of course outnumbered, but they don't push fully there, nor can they deny the Drake. Can they get some kills? I mean, might not matter here. That Drake's gone over.
Yeah, Life looking to come down. Bertle and BDD a little bit too far away. The kick just to try and disengage Armut, but the Lee Sin is already dead. Humanoid grabs that kill, and they get a reset for Elyoya. Lands a Q, but isn't going to go in. And I think that you'll trade Clid for a Infernal Soul.
Key thing now, as Mad, try to push as much as you humanly can. You have a Clid that's dead for 35 seconds. A single misstep from Gen.G with the Baron buff up could mean that you break open the base, or possibly even more.
Yeah, the problem is the Infernal makes it so much easier to defend here, and 25 seconds till this Lee Sin is up. You can just slowly poke away. Like I said, you're probably losing an inhibitor here if they do commit fully, but it's still 100% worth it if you can win that ensuing fight.
Yeah, no frontline available here for Gen.G or anything like that. Their defensive plays are a little bit more limited. This composition isn't necessarily built to try and defend your inhibitors, right? They want it to be a little bit further ahead at this particular stage of the game. But Ruler is still terrifying, and they have so much more damage available to them with all of those dragons that they've picked up. And now, just under 5 minutes until that Elder is going to be on the board.
This is going to be a bit of a kind of lull state here as we watch this chase. Clid does get picked here at the end of the day, but this buys a lot of time. Mad Lions do, you know, struggle to get that inhibitor after this because they rotated all the way across the map to try to stop the Drake, failed, and then only got Clid. But what I'm concerned about here for the Gen.G state of things is, yes, you have this Infernal. You have a composition that has a little bit of poke with the Syndra. Obviously, there's a little bit that comes in with the Aphelios. But you're not going to be able to use this Infernal Soul to just outright win the game unless Mad Lions give you an opportunity.
Yeah, it's a huge kickback. The stun comes through as well, and you can't ult out of the gameplay button as BDD's going to get slowed down. Humanoid looks to try and be the hero, but Life is going to help shut him down with another beautiful knock-up. And Gen.G grab 2 swift kills, and what more can they collect now?
You can't be there. This is what I'm talking about. Gen.G can't easily find picks, can't easily find the fight unless you're just way out of position like that. That's 2 kills they should have no rights to take. And now Gen.G with full control over the map.
I do really like that we see Armut there back out of vision. Gen.G do need to respond, can't afford to let those last seconds of Baron Bus also get a top lane inhibitor. And now, when the dust have settled, Mad, in terms of gold, they are ahead. In terms of that Infernal Soul, obviously that's a huge boon and that might kind of warp the situation. But I do think that with the current game state, it's just going to come down to execution. And then you can't afford to make mistakes like this. You can't be the one to face check, especially not as a Viego. Your Leona, yeah, she's close by, but Kaiser isn't actually in a position to immediately help you. And then the attempt from Humanoid to salvage the play just means that instead they fall further behind. But again, it's just some Baron time wasted. Still no definitive break in this game, and either team can win it depending on the execution.
And the objectives are so far away. 3 minutes till the Elder, 2 minutes 15 seconds before that next Baron buff. So with the composition that Mad Lions have, they can kind of just keep pushing these waves. They have that inhibitor pressure bottom, so they can use that to push top themselves. If they break open the space or force a fight from Gen.G, could be one way they actually end this game before those objectives come up.
And without the Baron, it's too hard to push in. BDD's got so much wave clear. Ruler as well, if he's given some time with some waves, can really get rid of them very quickly. So Bertle here in the side lane, not going to be answered if Mad invests all 5 to try and go for a siege.
Key thing here is also that there's no teleports available for Mad. So unlike last time, where
can't
where Bertle was dead for up and then, as he should, got very nicely punished by Mad. This time it is going to be him being just fine, able to push up. And this feels, in many a way, like a classic Gen.G game where, you know, it's been fun, but it's going to come down to the one fight at Elder. Yeah. And as mentioned previously, I think it's going to really depend on which team gets prio. If it is Gen.G that makes their way into the river first, forces Mad to face check, it's going to be very, very hard. The poke can land, and Ruler can move around in relative safety. But I do really like what Mad is doing here, and is consistently sending Armut to that side lane, because they know that no one can really match him in the 1v1. You need to invest more resources, and they're covering for him both in terms of vision and in terms of people rotating around the map. Whereas Bertle, he's, you know, off on his own.
He doesn't have any control wards, so he can't actually set up a deep teleport ward for his team to actually flank when that Elder Drake does spawn. If he had one, that would be massive because there's no one anywhere nearby, and he could just toss one down into the top side of that jungle there, right above where that Elder will spawn. But he doesn't have it, decides to back off here. They're going to regroup. 70 seconds until that spawns. They're just going to have that prio, bit of a K-Ram here, as we like to call it in the LCK, to try to fight over this Drake, because whoever ends up having control of vision and has those chokes controlled is going to have a better chance. Gen.G, you got no vision here.
Yeah, Q not going to be able to find the Banshees. The rest of Mad are going to back away. Armut not quite in position, does now have that teleport available. As Clid maybe pushing a bit further forward than he probably should, but does get that control ward down. Gets the news about the position of the Gwen. Gen.G just trying to keep tabs on this Mad Lions roster.
Stopwatch check, 5 stopwatches, 1 Guardian Angel. The Baron goes down.
This Baron is going down extraordinarily quickly. Ruler, can he find the Moonlight Vigil this time? This is going to be stolen by Clid. The 3-man knockup as well, as right into the backline they go. Humanoid unable to find the value on the Azir this time, and Gen.G will just wipe Mad off the face of the rift, and that will be the end of the game.
And it was so close until it wasn't, and they get blown up.
And as anticlimactic of an ending as anyone could have hoped for. I mean, that was one way to say, look, we have this really fast Baron clear time. And to Mad's credit, I respect the decision. They had vision and control. Gen.G didn't know. They got away with it once earlier on in the first Baron, but this was a bridge too far. You commit so hard, and Gen.G do suss it out this time. This time they rotate in. It's an amazing steal from Clid, but everybody's health bars are so low, you're in a choke point where all that damage is going to come through all at once, and those Mad Lions players disappeared way faster than the Baron did.
Yeah, and I was about to have this long conversation with you guys about, well, you know, Ruler's got his flash, he's got his Mercurial Scimitar, he's got that stopwatch that we were talking about, he's even got Cleanse Guard. I think he used his Gale Force. And the fight was just over. Of course, BDD, very, very dangerous. But while our players are legends on the Rift, Oppo dares to ask, just how legendary is their selfie game? We're off to Iceland to find the answer in this installment of the Oppo Cam.
Would you ride for me? Handshake, one of a kind, homie. I be trying to vibe on the wave. I'm a big vibe on the wave. Look.
Can I get your digits? Maybe we can kick it. Just wait till all my.
Smell irresistible. The new Axe Effect.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Welcome back to the State Farm Analyst Desk, where it looked like Mad Lions had done everything they needed to do to snag the victory. But in a moment, Gen.G ripped it away from them around the Baron and find a path to victory. How you doing over there, Cadril?
Oh, it's a rough one, wasn't it? That fight was questionable, but it all started...
Questionable?
Okay, questionable. It was a long game, but it started from the draft in the early game, of course. A lot of the draft was kind of interesting to me because Mad Lions 4-pick away Azir from BDD intentionally. I think Mad Lions have a lot of comfort, and when you look at both drafts holistically, you have Mad Lions with better scaling, Gen.G with more early game, and as we were talking about in Countdown, that's kind of how the meta works right now. You draft early game, you get dragons, and that's your scaling point. But it felt like in the early game, Mad were forcing fights while Ruler was just getting so much free gold.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Ruler just didn't move to the fight. Mad wasn't able to create huge advantages in these fights that they did move for. You know, Ruler's bot lane, he's farming plays, he's creating a significant CS advantage. I will say at the very least, Humanoid did have a CS advantage over BDD in the mid lane, but like that top lane fight, yeah, that was really close to being a huge win for Mad. You know, Humanoid only able to catch the one person with the shuffle. If he could have got two, if he could have got three, this game can look very different because then you're getting enough of a punish on the other side of the map.
That's the thing, though, right? Those skirmishes, they could have been everything that Mad needed to do to just get off the ground and get off the ground quickly, but Ruler picking up boatloads of gold there on the bottom side of the map makes him a threat later in the game.
Yeah, especially on Aphelios, right? We saw Gen.G move towards the bot side a couple of times, threatening dives, getting Carzzy, he's already flashed, so a lot of resources went into Ruler, as you expect, the superstar player on Gen.G.
As well, though, every second counts, and thanks to the reliable Cisco network, BDD saves the day with milliseconds to spare, stunning Humanoid and sparing his team from a Azir flash ult.
Oh, this fight, it looks so good for Mad Lions because they're chasing them down and getting a lot of Gen.G summoner spells. They got the tower earlier on, put a ward behind, it was Armut, and then he TPs, returns to top. Humanoid was so close to getting a 3-man ultimate here when none of Gen.G have flash.
Man, it was so good from BDD. BDD was honestly so on point in this game.
And then
the scatter comes through, and then the flash was buffered, as you say. So he comes through, he can't hit anyone, he goes down. And that was a bit of a frequent scene in this game. Every time Humanoid was going aggressive, it felt like an egg on his face.
And it looks bad. It looks worse than what it actually was. Because when you do the WEQ shuffle onto Azir, you buffer the flash, right? So he gets stunned, flash buffers, and it looks like he's inting. Yeah, if he got that off, he would have had a huge ult.
No, it could have been the deciding play of the game if it all happens the way that Humanoid had envisioned it. But BDD, throughout this entire game, playing to perfection on that Syndra. We do have to note, though, some creativity and some really intelligent map play out of Mad throughout the mid game, taking a Baron in sneaky fashion, which helped them extend the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Baron was really smart. They showed multiple members. They showed Elyoya. They showed Carzzy on the map, and then they 2-man it with their solo laners, only bringing in the rest at the very end. This was what would have been a very fast soul for Gen.G, but I was honestly shocked by how poor the setup was. You can see, top laner's not even there. Graves is arriving very late. Clid is looking for this weird long flank, even though they knew that Armut was on the side and was going to be able to push him off, so he wasn't even in range to contest. And that bought Mad a lot of time to continue scaling.
Yeah, and then this fight was just questionable from Mad Lions, right? You're just full forcing a Nash with no like setup to actually turn or anything like that. You finish, it gets stolen, and then everyone looks really, really scattered. I think...
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think if you look at this game, the most important thing for Mad Lions was time, right? Getting the Baron to sort out the Drake, trying to sort out the Soul for as long as possible, but eventually Mad Lions ran out of time, and I think that's when they felt like their backs were against the wall and they overforced that Baron.
But I feel like they assumed they were in a worse position than they really were, right? You know, they were almost full build on the Azir. You know, they did have good range. Yes, the Infernal Soul is powerful, but it's not as though they were playing against a full poke comp that can constantly be proccing the Infernal Soul. If you have an all-in 100-0 fight, it still felt winnable. And that's why it just felt like they misunderstood the situation they were in. You know, hard committing to the Baron. You could see Bertle was flanking on the Graves, and Humanoid's still hitting the Baron while Graves is starting to hit him. Like, it was just full-on call, finish Baron.
And we were speaking about it in the green room behind the scenes in a way, just saying, like, look at Mad Lions comp, right? They outscale on the top side of the map. They can afford to just stall the game out and cross-map and trade, which is what they did. But ultimately, like you said, they overforced and they lost. I think even with Infernal Soul onto Gen.G, there's a chance they can still win fights.
A bit of a slip and heartbreak for Mad here to kick off the day, but for Gen.G, an early lead when it comes to the group stage standings. As we head to the break, we're getting ready for LNG versus TL. We'll be here to preview the match when we return.